I thought I knew my partner well. I was wrong. Valentine's Day had always been her favorite holiday. Not Christmas, not birthdays, just Valentine's Day. She treated it like it was sacred, like it meant more than chocolates and flowers. She used to say it was the one day when love showed its true form. I thought she meant romance. That year, she insisted on planning everything herself. She told me to just show up at her house at 7 p.m. sharp. Number gifts, no flowers, nothing. She said she wanted me to come exactly as I was. I remember thinking it was romantic, different, personal. I should have noticed how serious she looked when she said it. Her house sat at the edge of town, surrounded by tall trees that blocked most of the streetlights. I had been there plenty of times before, but that night it felt quieter. The air felt heavy, like a storm was coming, even though the sky was perfectly clear. When I knocked, she opened the door almost instantly, like she had been waiting on the other side. She looked beautiful. She wore a dark red dress I had never seen before, and her hair was tied back in a way that made her look older, almost formal. She smiled, but it wasn't her usual smile. It was smaller, controlled. "You're right on time," she said softly. "I wouldn't miss it," I replied. She stepped aside and let me in. The inside of the house smelled like candles and something faintly metallic, though I couldn't place it. Soft music played somewhere deeper in the house, slow and echoing like it was drifting through the walls. The lights were dim, not dark enough to be uncomfortable, but just low enough to make shadows stretch across the floor. "You decorated all this yourself?" I asked. "For you," she said. She took my coat and carefully hung it by the door. She always did things carefully, but that night, she moved with almost ritual-like precision. Dinner was already set on the table. 2 plates, 2 glasses, and a long line of candles running down the center. The food smelled amazing, and for a while, everything felt normal. Almost. Halfway through dinner, I noticed something strange about the way she watched me eat. She barely touched her own plate. She just sat there, smiling quietly, like she was memorizing every movement I made. "You're not eating," I said. "I will later," she answered. Her voice sounded calm, but distant. We talked about small things, work, movies, future plans. But every topic somehow circled back to us. To how we met, to how lucky we were, to how rare real love was. "You believe love should last forever?" she asked suddenly. "Yeah," I said. "I mean, ideally." She nodded slowly, like she was confirming something to herself. "Good," she whispered. After dinner, she suggested we exchange cards. I hadn't brought one, but she smiled and handed me a sealed envelope anyway. "Read it later," she said. "I want you to enjoy the night first." I slipped it into my jacket pocket. She then took my hand and led me toward the hallway. I noticed doors I had never seen open before. She guided me past them quickly, almost protectively, until we reached the living room. That's when I saw the shelf. I had seen it before, but I had never looked closely at it. It was filled with framed photographs and small decorative boxes, all arranged neatly in rows. She stepped away for a moment to adjust the music, leaving me alone. I don't know what made me walk closer. The first photo showed her standing beside a man I didn't recognize. They were smiling, standing in front of the same house. A small date was written in the corner of the frame. February 14th, 3 years ago. I frowned. Maybe an old friend, maybe a cousin. Then I noticed the next photo. Another man, different face, same house, same pose. Another February 14th, 5 years ago. My stomach tightened. I moved down the shelf faster now. More photos, different faces, different years. Every single one taken on Valentine's Day. Every single one with her standing beside someone, smiling in that same calm, controlled way. I opened one of the decorative boxes with trembling hands. Inside was a folded card. It looked old, yellowed around the edges. I opened it slowly. The handwriting inside was messy but heartfelt. A message about love, about forever, about promises. The card was signed with a name that wasn't mine. Behind me, I heard the music stop. "You weren't supposed to see those yet," she said gently. I turned around. She stood in the doorway, her expression unreadable. "Who are they?" I asked. She walked toward the shelf slowly, her heels clicking softly against the floor. "They were important to me," she said. "Were?" I repeated. She nodded, running her fingers across one of the photo frames, like she was dusting it off, though it was already spotless. "You don't understand," she continued. "Valentine's Day isn't just about love. It's about commitment, about proving that love is strong enough to last." My chest felt tight. "Where are they now?" She smiled faintly. "They stayed," she said. I laughed nervously. "Stayed where?" She tilted her head slightly, studying me like she was deciding how much to tell me. "You'll understand soon," she said. Something inside me told me to leave. I reached for my jacket, trying to keep my movements casual, but she stepped closer. "You forgot to read your card," she said softly. I hesitated. My hands felt cold as I pulled the envelope from my pocket. Her handwriting covered the front, elegant and careful. I opened it. Inside was a long message describing how special our relationship was, how she had been waiting for someone like me, someone who truly understood her. The words were beautiful, but they carried a strange finality, like goodbye letters disguised as love notes. At the bottom, there was a line written slightly darker than the rest. "You'll always be part of this house." "I think I should go," I said quietly. She sighed, almost disappointed, like a teacher whose student had failed a simple test. "You said you believed love should last forever," she replied. "I meant emotionally," I said quickly. "Not whatever this is." She looked genuinely confused by that. The lights flickered briefly. I told myself it was just faulty wiring, but the shadows on the walls seemed to stretch unnaturally as the room dimmed. "I never choose wrong," she said calmly. "I take my time. I learn everything about the people I love, their fears, their dreams, their habits." I backed toward the door. "You're scaring me," I admitted. "I know," she said softly. "They always say that part." My pulse pounded in my ears. "They?" She gestured toward the shelf. "I keep them close," she said. "Memories fade if you don't preserve them properly." My hand reached the doorknob behind me. I twisted it. It didn't move. I pulled harder. Still locked. She watched me struggle with quiet patience. "You'll stop trying eventually," she said. "They all do." The air felt colder. The house seemed too quiet, like it was listening. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. Her expression softened, almost lovingly. "Because love deserves permanence." I glanced back toward the hallway, searching for another exit, another door, any way out. But every shadow now felt deeper, heavier, like the house itself was closing in. She stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're special," she said. "I knew it the moment we met. You noticed things the others didn't. You listened. You stayed longer." My throat felt dry. "And what happens now?" She smiled again, that small, controlled smile. "Now," she said, "you become part of Valentine's Day." From somewhere deeper in the house, I heard a faint sound, like something shifting, like a floorboard settling, or someone walking slowly across it. I turned toward the noise instinctively. When I looked back, she was standing right in front of me. Her eyes reflected the candlelight, calm and certain. "You're not the first," she said gently, "but you might be the one who finally understands." The last thing I remember clearly is the sound of the front door locking again. Even though neither of us touched it, the candles flickered wildly, stretching our shadows across the walls until they merged with the others already there. Shapes I hadn't noticed before, faint outlines pressed into the paint, like old stains. And as she took my hand, her grip cold but steady, I realized something that made my stomach drop. There were more photos on that shelf than I had time to count. And next year, there would be another one. I never liked Valentine's Day, but it took me years to understand why. It started innocently enough. 7 years ago, I opened my apartment door and found a single red rose resting against a frame. No note, no name. I assumed it was a mistake, something left for a neighbor. I smiled as I picked it up, thinking it harmless. That night, I placed it in a glass of water, naive enough to believe it was just a coincidence. The next year, there was another rose. Same place, same color, still no note. I laughed it off, but a small part of me hesitated before bringing it inside. By the 3rd year, I was already checking the door first thing in the morning. By the 5th, I stopped bringing the roses in entirely. By the 6th, I had started locking every window and door twice, checking them repeatedly before going to bed. This year, I woke before my alarm. My heart was racing, even before my eyes opened. I lay still on the mattress, listening to the familiar hum of the apartment, willing myself to stay calm. I could feel the familiar tightening in my chest, the anticipation that I had come to dread. Then, I smelled it. Roses. Not the faint scent from the vase in the kitchen, or a neighbor's bouquet. This was real, fresh, and unmistakable. My stomach dropped. I turned slowly toward the door. 7 roses lay in a perfect line across the floor. Their stems were parallel, their petals facing inward, as if they were observing me. I hadn't heard the door open. I always locked it. Always. I stood frozen for a long time, trying to process the impossible. I tiptoed to the living room, checking corners, closets, and the bathroom. Nothing. The apartment was exactly as I had left it, silent and ordinary. But my instincts screamed that I was not alone. My phone buzzed. I didn't recognize the number, and my hands trembled as I picked it up. The message was simple. It let me know he had been watching me the moment I saw the roses. I blocked the number, hoping that would end it. But seconds later, another message appeared. He was patient, precise. He had been doing this for years, learning my routines, predicting my reactions. I stayed inside all day. Curtains drawn, lights off, every small sound, the hum of the fridge, pipes settling, the distant echo of a neighbor, felt deliberate, like some invisible presence had orchestrated it. Around noon, there was a knock at the door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. A voice claimed to be a delivery, but when I looked through the peephole, the hallway was empty. My chest tightened. I could feel my pulse in my ears, loud enough to drown out all other sounds. Then came the second knock, not from the door, from inside the apartment. I froze, my back against the wall. The hair on my arms stood straight. I spun around, heart hammering, but nothing was there. I ran to the bathroom and locked the door, pressing my back to the cool tile. My hands were shaking, and my eyes darted to the mirror. The glass fogged as I breathed, and slowly I realized that words were forming on the surface. I didn't see hands, didn't see motion, but letters appeared, deliberate, careful, as if someone invisible were writing them from the other side. Dark streaks began to run down the glass. I don't remember standing. I don't remember unlocking the door. Only the sound of breathing, soft, patient, right behind my ear. "You used to smile when you saw the roses," a voice whispered. Fingers brushed my hair, gentle, familiar. I never missed a Valentine, not once. I turned. He was there, too close, ordinary, forgettable. A man I might have passed on the street without ever noticing, yet now every detail was terrifying. His eyes were calm, calculating, his smile faint, almost proud. "I don't know you," I whispered, though my voice trembled. "You did," he said. "You just never looked." He pulled a rose from his coat, blackened, brittle, petals crumbling in his hand. "Love doesn't like being ignored," he said. The lights went out. When they flickered back, I was alone. No roses, no words on the mirror, just my phone on the floor, vibrating. One final message. He wouldn't wait outside next year. I backed away from the door, breathing shallow. Then I heard it, the lock turning from the inside. I ran to the bedroom, throwing myself against the closet door. My mind raced, trying to find sense in what had happened. I thought of calling the police, but what could I say? A man who wasn't there, a rose that appeared from nowhere, messages from a number I didn't recognize. My fingers shook as I tried to type. Hours passed. Every noise was magnified. My apartment no longer felt like home. Shadows seemed to follow me, sticking to my heels, hiding just out of reach. I dared not leave the bedroom. Not for food, not for water, not even to breathe without watching every corner. I could feel his presence everywhere. I would glance at the couch, and a shadow would twitch, as if it had life. The bathroom mirror reflected nothing unusual, just me, but I could swear for a moment that my reflection lingered, smiling when I was terrified. Night came. The apartment was silent, except for the occasional creak of the building settling. My phone buzzed again, another unknown number. I didn't check it. I couldn't. I had learned to fear every vibration, every chime, every soft sound. Sleep didn't come. My eyes remained open, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sound that would signal him again. Waiting for the roses, waiting for the words to form on some mirror, the lock to turn, the shadows to move. I realized then that Valentine's Day was never about flowers or love. It was about fear, about knowing someone could be inside my life, unnoticed, unseen, and yet perfectly aware of me. That year, and every year before, I had smiled at the wrong thing. And next year, I knew he would not wait outside. I don't know how he got in. I don't know why he chooses me. I only know that when the sun rises, I will be alone again. But I will never feel alone. Not really. Not until he decides I am ready. And I know he will come again.